Welcome to Life is Easy When You Know How podcast. Today we're getting a little bit deep and dark, so I hope this little chat gives you a little bit of inspiration towards who you are and who you can become and how the universe will show up for you in exactly the right moment. The 7th of October 2022 was the first death anniversary of my husband. The anticipation of that looming date pretty much wrote off most of my September. The knowing that it was coming and the imagery of what I was creating, of what it meant and what it would mean and what it would be, overtook the actual event based on what I was creating in my mind, what I was creating as a new truth. The anticipation of that date and knowing that I knew I would be creating a place of hurt, sadness, pain, whatever low negative emotion you can think of. I knew that was coming. I knew that being in a state of knowing that that day would be tough for me, would be tough for others, would be tough for the kids who are still here in this house. I had created this event without even knowing that I was creating this huge event based on what we think these things mean, what we think they're supposed to be, what we think that this is what it's going to be like. I had told the kids who were still at school that we would allow them to not go to school for that day so that we could celebrate and do something together as a family, and also in a way so that I could be near them to support them, because I had anticipated or created the story that they would be in the same place as me and they would be feeling the suffering and the pain and the sadness of that day, and the fact that it was the first anniversary and the first time that we had to really sort of relive that moment in our mind, because that's the belief we had created. So prior to that day, the Thursday, the day before, the 6th of October, being home alone, it was my chance to do what I thought that I needed to do. It took you to that place of just feeling exactly what you were feeling, not worrying about the ifs, the hows, the whens, the other people, the logistics. What do we do now? Where do we go? It was none of that. It was just feeling every single piece of that moment. And there's probably I don't even know how to put it into words, because it took me to a place physically, mentally and spiritually that I've never been before. It was probably the lowest point, the lowest vibrational feeling, the lowest physical feeling, the lowest spiritual and emotional feeling you could ever experience, and I cannot put it into words, and I can only tell you how bad it felt for me. And I was in that place where I could not do any of the normal things. I could not function as I normally do, but I also knew that I had to feel it. I had to sit in it. I could not become that person going, come on, tough it up. You're okay. Don't let this bring you down. Wipe away your tears. Let's get rid of that emotion. It was none of that. It was something that I knew I had to feel. It was something I knew I had to experience. It was something that my body needed to allow that moment to be felt, to be seen, to be allowed, because, you know, as much as I talk about healing and the work that we do in ourselves and the different steps or the different things I've learned along the way to help myself be able to alchemize these type of emotions and the situations I've been in, I have come to the conclusion that lately, you know, having that extra layer of knowing and understanding of the spirituality in the healing world, it made it a little bit more difficult. I had come in thinking, oh no, I'm so spiritual. I mean, okay, yeah, it's grief. I lost my husband, blah, blah, blah. But look at me. I am the spiritual warrior and I am going to crush this. This is my learning step. This is a new learning curve. Watch me work through this so much more easily than the non-woke folk, and I will pass and fly through this with colours, etc. I had that illusion that it would be so much easier, but in hindsight, it actually wasn't. It gave me different ways to grieve. It gave me different ways to look at what was happening, different ways to feel what was happening, to associate it with the different levels of understandings and knowings and feelings and emotions and lessons and futures and timelines and collectives, and associating it with so many other things that I was grieving on so many layers. I didn't know what was what, but sitting in that moment and being in that pain and knowing that I had to feel it, and knowing that that was the day that I was going to use, because I knew that on the actual day that I would need to be strong for others, that I would need to be there for the kids, I would need to be available for anything else that rose up throughout the day. So I used that day before to sit in it, and whilst I was in that state and while I was in that place of pure darkness, I called on my husband, I called on the universe, and I told them that, fuck, this spirituality shit is way too fucking hard, because if I'm supposed to be this amazing, wonderful person who knows all about spirituality, and yes, I'm still learning, but, you know, I've learned all these modalities on how to heal, I can move through things differently to other people, yet here I am 12 months down the track, still feeling the same, if not worse than I was 12 months ago. Well, then what the fuck? I don't want to live a life where I am constantly reminded of this pain or this situation. And of course I was in that place of thinking, well, what are you doing wrong? Is there something that I haven't healed? Is there something that I haven't alchemized? Have I not looked at enough of my Akashic records? Have I not looked at my past lives? Have I not looked at my ancestral line? Am I doing this technique wrong? Am I not using the right crystals? Am I not really tapping into my intuition? All these questions arose, but I really just said, no, I don't want to do this anymore. It's too hard. And once you jump out of this box and into this world, it's not like you can just go, fuck that. Yeah, I tried spirituality. Nah, it's not for me. And go put it in a box and seal it back up, put it in your cupboard and go, yep, back to my normal everyday life. I'm going to go get a job. I'm going to go follow the rules that everyone else is following and go live this normal everyday life and not have to worry about all this bullshit and pain. I can learn how to stifle my emotions. I can learn how to smile on the outside, and life will be just mediocre, but I will be fine. I won't need to feel all this crap. I won't need to be like this. I won't have to struggle. I will just live a life like everybody else. But you can't do that. You can't do that. I don't know how you can do that. Once you know, you know. There's no going back. There's no stifling it back in the box. So when I said to the universe and to my husband, and whichever way you want to look at it, because you can connect to I feel that you can connect to souls or people when they pass over based on two different levels. And this is the way that I have connected to my husband a few times, not many. But there's a way that you can connect to them as that fractal of who they are, as that energetic blueprint of that person that you knew in this world when they were still in this living world. You can also connect to them based on their higher self or their soul self, or, you know, if you take away all that energetic blueprint of who they were in this life and just looked at them and connected to them at their core of who they were, you can do that as well. And I've done both of that. But when I was in the throes of where I was feeling, I literally felt like it was it. This was the end. I'm not doing this shit. It hurts too much, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Whichever way it hurts, it was hurting. And I really felt like I could, you know, climb to the top of a building, jump off and see if I could fucking fly. Because if you want me to go through all this spirituality bullshit, let me see if I can fucking fly. And I physically wanted to climb to the top of a house or a building and jump off and see if I could fly, because fuck this shit, because it's too hard. And I told the universe, I told my husband, I said, you have, and I know other people do this and I know other people have said this, but I can see where this comes from and why. And it was, you have 24 hours. You have 24 hours to show me why I shouldn't do that. Show me something that makes it all worth it, that makes me see it in a different way, that makes me not feel like this. And I wasn't asking for something to not feel that or to not go through that, but give me a fucking reason. Give me a goddamn purpose. Show me why. Show me what is it? Because, you know, for me, for the last, I could say the last few months, but let's be real, I know this year especially, I've felt it as I've sort of come more and more into who I am and learn more and more and expand more and more and see more and more. The more I've learned, the more confusion I've had. And when you're confused, you lose touch on so many things. And then you start to question it all. And then you start to blame yourself, find holes in your theories, in the things that you believe, and then you keep jumping and going from here to there, and oh no, this feels good, I'm going to do this, and it's very short-lived, and you're like, oh, nah, I'm not feeling that anymore. Oh, now I'm feeling this. Okay, now I'm really into this. Yep, this is going to be so awesome. I'm going to do this, and it's no, I don't want to do that. What am I supposed to be doing? I don't know what am I supposed to be? And it's like, you know that you are meant for great things. You know that you are meant to be something. You know that you can make a difference. You know you are here to show up in a way that others do not, or say something that helps someone else in a way that you don't even realize. And you see this and you try and find all the answers. You seek out modalities, tools, learnings, knowings, understanding, people, connection, places, all these different things, trying to find that connection. And you just end up in, I don't know, where am I? Where am I? When you say things to people and you can see that they're like, okay. Like, they sort of get what you're saying, but sometimes they just don't get it. And I know that we're all different. We're all unique. We all have our own lenses, our own views, our own understandings, and we're not all supposed to be the same. But I see that confusion in people's eyes when I speak to them. I know they're like, they're not understanding, or they're understanding on their level. They're not understanding where I'm coming from or the point I'm trying to make. And I always try to make myself wrong for feeling these things, or make myself not stand in my true power because I wasn't being like everyone else. I wasn't believing what everyone else was believing. And it's only like recently I've started to feel the little few threads of, well, you know, you need to start really believing in what you believe in. Don't worry about what everyone else believes in. What do you believe in? Don't question it. Those answers that you are receiving, those questions that you are asking are perfectly right for you, and there's a reason for that. And there's so many weird different things that have come in on different levels that make no sense to me. And you're like, why am I doing this? Why am I doing that? Why am I writing this? Why am I suddenly learning about that? And all these different things that made no sense, but I'm being guided. Oh, my guides are helping me. Collectives are coming in. I'm bringing in new information. It will all make sense eventually. Oh, they're leading me over to learn this now. So whilst I'm in the throes of relinquishing this question out into the consciousness, the outside, the existence, the universe, the oneness, whatever you want to call it, I was guided, and I can't even tell you where or how. I think I might have gone onto Facebook or something, and like even that I've been away from because I can't listen to a lot of voices, because recently they've just felt like they were just merging into one voice, and the noise was really distracting me, and I wanted to focus more on who I was and what I was going through and where I was in this. And this weird understanding of, I described it recently as just sort of sitting in the depths of the ocean, just bobbing and just sitting there waiting for the tide to pull me in a direction. And that's where I was sitting, that's where I was feeling. And then I would get these pulls over here, and then it's, back in the ocean again. But what happened within the next 24 hours was I was guided to a post, and I can't remember what it was, what the words were, but it was something that resonated, which then ended up me looking something up on Google, which then ended up me finding a book, which is no longer in print. It made me find a website as someone who was talking about all this stuff that made sense to me, but was no longer promoting what they were talking about. So these are just like remnants or echoes of what this person was speaking about. And oh my goodness, it was like everything that I've ever felt, said, learnt, experienced, all just fell into this beautiful, amazing puzzle. Funny how I just said puddle. That's very interesting. But it is. It's like this whole new pool of knowledge and understanding and knowing. And I have never felt so alive before in my life. I feel like the direction that I was going, in the way that I was already leading myself on my own, I would have eventually, I don't know how long, arrived at this place. But it was like, this was just a little bit of a boost that went, okay, you're clearly not handling what's going on, so we're going to give you a bit of a help. Here you go. And it's like, oh my God, you literally just lit up every single cell in my goddamn body. And even though I'm still bringing all the information, I'm absorbing all the knowledge that I can find. It's like I've literally found home. And the only other time I experienced something like this, but this is way better, was when someone put the concept in my mind that we don't have an original source, that we can be multidimensional, and that we can have multiple source incarnations all operating at the same time. That was another key moment along my journey that made me just go, now I feel complete. But this is next level. This is at the edge of I don't even know how to put it in words. I'm not going to go into it all in this podcast. This podcast is more about my journey to how I got here, my journey through that deep grief moment of excruciating sadness and pain and despair. Absolute despair. But in that, what I have now learnt is that in those moments, those dark moments, is where we're going to find the brightest light. It is in the dark that the light can be seen. And I know people talk about this, go to your dark side, work on your shadows. But I'm talking about going straight to the depths of your deep, dark heart, not even making it to your body or to your natural heart state, but going deep, deep into the darkness of what you were feeling, how it is making you feel, and finding a way to alchemize that and understand that everything that you are feeling, everything that you are allowing and then alchemizing is then leading you into exactly the true, masterful, genius, amazing version of self who you actually are. And I'll be talking a lot more about this soon, but it's not going to resonate with everyone. Actually, it's not going to resonate with many people because it is... I'm not even going to use words that give it a label, but it's not the norm. It's not the everyday things that people say. And I know that I've been someone who's always been, I'm not going with the crowd. I'm going against the crowd. And now I get it's not me thinking that I need to be different. It's because I am different and I see things different and I believe things that are different, and everything that I was doing up to this moment or trying to create or trying to speak about or trying to do never resonated, never came all the way through because it wasn't who I was. I was trying to be something that I wasn't, because a lot of coaches and mentors and peers in my field have often said to me, well, you create all these things, but you'll mention it once and then it's just, yeah. And it's true. I felt that and I know that, but that's because I wasn't 100% behind it. And now I get why everything that I've tried has not had the success that I had anticipated, because it was coming not from the purest place of who I am at my ultimate truth. And now that I've now able to discover exactly who I am and who I want to be and how I want to do it, and once I can stand in that, in my true genius, God-like, amazing truth, this is where I'll be able to get my message through. This is where I'll be able to fully follow through and fully show others exactly what I'm talking about on what I see and how I see it, and how it has helped me and how it will help others. Because I know that we always feel like we have to have a purpose and a mission. And it's funny, I was watching a show recently and they said if people don't have purpose, then they have no reason to live, because we want to have purpose, we want to have meaning, otherwise why even bother? If we don't have a purpose, then what's the point? It was interesting to sort of reflect on that. And it was actually whilst I was going through this last week from hell. So it was very timely and it was true. And it was something that I was feeling at the time, that I did need a purpose. And oh my goodness, I can feel it now. And it's not a purpose of, oh, I'm here to do this. My purpose is to create something new. It's to create the life that is part of my own truth, instead of drawing into the consciousness of everything that is or everything that already exists. I'm creating what I want. I'm creating my own truth in a new, beautiful, amazing, dark but light way. And there's so much more coming on this, guys. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you in our next podcast.